Says we're live. Hi there. And welcome to This Day in History for November 13th. I got my little clock there. Set that aside. November 13th is the 317th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 318th in leap years, with 48 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is Triskaidekaphobia. Triskaidekaphobia is a noun that means fear of the number 13. Seems timely to give you this word on this day, especially since it's Friday the 13th. November the 13th of 2020 falls on a Friday. But fear not. Fear not. Friday the 13th is often fraught with extra superstition. Triskaidekaphobia is the word for folks who have a fear of the word of the number 13, not the word the number. I'd like to take a moment to mention that links to my research are included in the show notes. Ask you to go ahead and click that like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with others. You can do that with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. Also, there is a link in the show notes to my This Day in History series. And I've also placed a link in the show notes to last year's episode for Friday the 13th. Or not Friday the 13th, but November the 13th. Wouldn't necessarily on a Friday, I don't know. Also, the Day in History playlist will be up in that corner once the live is finished and the video renders. And with that, we're going to start with November 13 in the year 1002, when English King Ethelred, English King Ethelred II, ordered the killing of all Danes in England. This is known as the St. Brice's Day Massacre because it occurred on St. Brice's feast day. St. Brice is an interesting character his own self, but that's a story for another time. Anyway, this massacre was also on a Friday, which makes me wonder if it could have anything to do with that whole Friday the 13th being bad luck thing or not. I don't know. Seems plausible though, don't you think? The massacre, apparently the Kingdom of England had been subject to Danish raids on about a yearly basis for the previous 5 years. And in 1002, the king's advisors convinced him that the Danish men in England would faithlessly take his life and then all his counselors and then possess the kingdom. So he just ordered them all to be killed. That would solve that problem, he thought. Louis VII married Adela of Champagne on November 13th, 1160. On November 13th, 1841, a man named James Braid saw a demonstration of a phenomenon known at the time as animal magnetism, which inspired him to study the subject in depth, and he eventually called it hypnotism. This is the birthday of Scottish novelist, poet, essayist, Robert Louis Stevenson, born November 13th, 1850. He wrote such greats as Treasure Island and The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, as well as many others, books, short stories, and poems. He died unexpectedly at the age of 44, most likely from a stroke. On November 13, 1851, an extended family group of pioneers known as the Denny Party arrived at Alki Point, A-L-K-I Point in Puget Sound, and eventually went on to found the city of Seattle. This is the birthday of American baseball player and manager Buck O'Neil, born November 13, 1911. Lovely human being. He established the Negro Leagues Museum in Kansas City, Missouri. If you're ever over that way, give yourself a day to go check it out. It's connected to a jazz museum and is located in a historic part of town. Mr. O'Neill lived to the age of 94. The Holland Tunnel opened to traffic on November 13, 1927, as the first Hudson River vehicle tunnel linking New Jersey to New York City. Walt Disney's animated musical film Fantasia was first released in theaters on November 13, 1940. This is the birthday of David Green, born November 13, 1941. He's a co-founder of the Hobby Lobby family of stores, and he wouldn't have any reason in the world to remember me, but I did sit at a dinner table with him and his wife and about 8 or 9 other people a good number of years ago, back in the early 2000s, I believe, or maybe even before that. But that was a long time ago. Still alive, Mr. Green turns 79 in 2020. This is the birthday of Wylie Hubbard, born November 13, 1946. I always think of his song London Homesick Blues whenever I hear his name. Wylie Hubbard turns 74 in 2020. On November 13, 1947, the Soviet Union completed development of the originating firearm of the Kalashnikov rifle family, the AK-47. AK stands for Automat Kalashnikov, and 47 refers to the year it was finished. The Supreme Court of the United States declared Alabama laws requiring segregated buses to be illegal on November 13, 1956, thus ending the Montgomery bus boycott. Vietnam War protesters staged a protest march in Washington, D.C. on November 13, 1969, and in 1982, Vietnam Veterans Memorial was dedicated in Washington, D.C. after a march to the site by thousands of Vietnam War veterans. Swedish voters decided to join the European Union in a referendum on November 13, 1994. November 13, 2016 marks the death of American singer-songwriter Leon Russell. I speak of him in more detail in last year's episode on this date, so be sure and check that out. Leon Russell. He was 74 at the time of his passing. And November 13, 2017 marks the passing of American baseball player and manager Bobby Doerr. Hall of Fame inductee Bobby Doerr was 99 at the time of his passing. And I think that's going to do it for us today. I hope you learned something you didn't know before. I know I sure did. I always do. I sure have a lot of fun doing this research. Anyway, there it is. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else. And, the links are in the show notes, and we'll have that other link up in the iCard there in a little bit. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video around with others. And I guess that's it. Come back tomorrow. We'll do it again. And now we look for the thank you very much button and affirm that we really mean it.